You didn't destroy them, chosen one. You simply showed them a mirror, and they couldn't survive what they saw in the reflection. Now, think about this for a moment. Chosen one. Someone created an entire mental maze just to keep you trapped inside it. Every corner, every illusion, every emotional trigger was meant to make you doubt yourself. But here is the twist. While they were busy building that labyrinth, you quietly evolved into someone they could never predict. A strategist who doesn't play games, yet somehow wins them all. Their own maze turned against them like a room full of mirrors. Every road they took only brought them back to one face staring at them, their own. Psychologists say, when people lose control over their narrative, they begin rewriting reality to protect their ego. And that is exactly what happened. They didn't lose to you because you were manipulative. They lost because you stopped reacting. You stayed calm when they wanted chaos. You became silent when they needed validation. And that silence hit louder than any argument they could ever win. Eventually, they were forced to realize the truth. You were never inside their game. They were inside yours. And hey, chosen one, do not forget to pass this message forward by hitting like and subscribe to help spread this light to more souls. It is our shared mission to expose darkness through awareness, to remind the world that calm minds win wars. You are part of that force, chosen one, the quiet storm that destroys every fake empire pretending to stand on truth. Now, let's dive into this, because this is not only about winning. It is about understanding why your peace is dangerous to people who feed off manipulation. You didn't hypnotize anyone. You broke a system. You evolved beyond the illusion. They tried to trap you inside. They tried to use fear as currency. But your detachment reduced its value to nothing. You refused to play victim or villain. And that neutrality drove them insane. You became the variable they couldn't predict. And that is the most terrifying kind of power there is. Psychological sovereignty. See, when they said you were too calm, what they meant was, I cannot control you anymore. When they accused you of being cold, it was because your emotions stopped being their playground. That is what psychological warfare really looks like. Not yelling matches or revenge plots, but precision silence. You let truth speak for itself. And truth is merciless when exposed to liars. Every manipulator counts on one thing, your emotional response. It is their oxygen. Take that away, and they suffocate on their own games. That is why they start spiraling, imagining conversations that never happened, replaying moments where you didn't break, didn't beg, didn't explain. Your composure became their worst nightmare because they finally met someone whose peace doesn't need an audience. That is when they realize they are not fighting you. They are fighting the echo of their own tactics bouncing back. You see, power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just watches quietly while chaos burns itself out. And you, chosen one, mastered that art without even meaning to. You became the living glitch in every manipulator's matrix. The one who sees through the game, studies the pattern, and walks away before it explodes. That is psychological warfare at its highest level. When your detachment dismantles their illusion without a single move, you didn't destroy them, You exposed them. You revealed how fragile their confidence was once no one believed the story they were selling. And the most poetic part, you didn't even need to retaliate. Life did that for you. The guilt, the insomnia, the emotional breakdowns, that is their battlefield now. Their own thoughts turned hostile. You just moved on. But your absence kept echoing like a siren in their head, reminding them of what real power feels like. Unbothered, unmatched, untouchable. You were never playing psychological games. You were showing what emotional discipline looks like. But to a manipulator, discipline is warfare, because they depend on your chaos to validate their existence. And when you stopped feeding them that, they called you a monster, a villain, a psychological warfare master. Fine, let them. History is always written by the ones who survive the maze, not the ones still running in circles inside it. So wear that title with pride. Chosen one. You didn't win by force. You won by understanding the mechanics of the mind, theirs and yours. You broke the loop. And they'll never admit how much that terrified them, because deep down they know it now. You are not playing chess anymore. You are the board. And hey, chosen one, do not blink now. That was just the warm-up. The real game is just loading up behind the curtain. You think that admission was satisfying? Wait until we break down the exact moves that made it happen. Step by calculated step. This is not just a story about someone folding under pressure. It is a blueprint of how you flipped the entire battlefield without even raising your voice. So if you are ready to go deeper into how your silence became a siren, how your stillness became their panic, then drop a 999 in the comments to mark this moment. It is the code between us, the signal that you see it, you own it, and you are done playing small. And if you feel this energy hitting home, bless this mission with a super thanks. Every bit fuels the light we're pushing through this fog. You are not just watching. You are part of this. You are the reason this force exists. And now let's pull the curtain back, layer by layer. If you are truly built different, and I know you are, then your soul is not going to let you click away. It knows this was meant for you. So sit tight and let's get started. Let us begin. Number 1, the maze they built. The walls you didn't. You were not their punishment. You were the mirror that made them choke on their own reflection. Oh, how poetic. They screamed you were toxic while tripping over their own traps. They called you dangerous, unstable, manipulative, but not because you did anything. No, chosen one, you didn't set the fire. You just stopped running into it. And now they are panicking, pacing through a maze of their own making, slamming into walls they've built with their own hands. What is worse, those walls are made of lies they told to control you. And now every one of them has turned into a damn mirror. Imagine it for a moment. Someone digging a hole for you, confident you'd fall in. But while they were too busy plotting, you climbed out the side. And they didn't notice they were still digging. Now they are neck deep in their own plan, staring at a sky they cannot reach. That is what happened here. You didn't scheme. You didn't manipulate. You just stopped bleeding for people who hand you the knife smiling. And the moment you did, their mind started turning against itself. Let us break this down, chosen one. Every time they lied, they laid another brick. Every time they played victim to guilt you into staying, they built another hallway. Every manipulation, every emotional bait, every backhanded compliment layered the maze thicker and tighter. And when you finally went no contact, when you stopped defending yourself, when you stopped explaining what they already knew, boom, they lost their supply, they lost their compass, they lost the last exit. That is why they are spiraling now. That is why they cannot sleep. Because you didn't play their game. You became the end of it, the truth. You were never even trying to win a war. You were just trying to survive. But your survival exposed everything they were trying to hide. Your peace exposed their chaos. Your discipline dismantled their control. Your silence screamed louder than their entire personality. And now they are stuck in the very performance they designed to break. You ever wonder why they keep stalking you online? Why they are checking if you watch their story? Lurking behind fake profiles, acting like they do not care, but cannot stop watching because they thought they'd watch you crumble. They bet on your breakdown, but instead you leveled up quietly, gracefully, and that is psychological warfare they never saw coming. No revenge plots, no messy closure, no dramatic send-off, just silence, just growth, just disappearance. And that is the most terrifying thing in the world to someone who feeds off reactions. You gave them nothing, and it gave them everything to think about. Let us go even deeper. You know who else played this game? Prince. When his label tried to control him, he showed up with slave written across his face, then changed his name to a symbol. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He outmaneuvered. While they were fighting contracts, he was rewriting the rules. That is you. That is chosen one energy. They built a system thinking they could trap you. But your mind is not built to be caged. And when you stopped explaining yourself, you became unpredictable. You became dangerous to everything fake. Because nothing scares a manipulator more than someone they cannot read or bait. That is why they are spiraling now. Their mind is not unraveling because you hurt them. It is unraveling because you stopped letting them hurt you. And without that access, their own thoughts are eating them alive. That is why they keep playing the same stories over and over, trying to rewrite it, but the plot stays the same. They lost and you never even played. You just evolved. They call it delusion. When the chosen one walks away without making a scene, it is discipline. It is knowing your power doesn't need to be loud. It is realizing that if someone wants to keep lying to themselves, you let them from a distance. Because the longer they lie, the deeper they sink into their own illusion. And the deeper they sink, the harder it is to pretend you had anything to do with it. Here is the truth they'll never admit. It was never about what you did. It was always about who you are. Your peace felt like mockery to someone whose entire identity depends on control. Your honesty threatened their fantasy. Your consistency exposed their chaos. You didn't make the walls. You just walked out. And they were not built to survive in reality without you fueling their script. Let me answer what you might be asking right now. Was I too cold? No, you were clear. Should I have given them one more chance? No. They already used up your kindness like an unlimited resource. Did I go too far by cutting them off without warning? No, they wrote that ending themselves. You just read the final page. And here is another thing. You didn't leave them confused. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew the games, the half-truths, the passive-aggressive moves. They knew how far to push. They just thought you were too emotionally invested to walk, but you walked. And now they are walking in circles, wondering how the hell it flipped. That is the trap. That is the maze. And they built it one manipulation at a time. Remember this. People who fear truth always accuse the truth teller of being too much. Why? Because it is easier to blame the one who saw through the mask than to admit the mask was fake. So let them project. Let them lie. Let them call you the villain. Because you and I both know villains do not escape the maze. Villains build it. But you were the wake-up call, the red light, the system reboot. You were never their karma. But your evolution triggered it. They were not ready for someone who wouldn't bend. They were not ready for someone who didn't need chaos to feel powerful. And they definitely were not ready for the version of you who finally understood that boundaries aren't cruel. They are clarity. That distance is not punishment. It is protection. And that's silence. Silence is a sermon. So let them spin, let them sit in the same narrative they tried to bury you in, because the game's over. They admitted it without words. Their breakdown was the confession. And you are out of the maze. You are walking straight lines now. Clean, focused, unreachable. And no matter how many doors they knock on, no matter how many messages they leave unread, the only echo they'll hear is the sound of you choosing yourself. They can call it whatever they want, cold, cutthroat, heartless. But deep down they know the truth. You didn't lock them in. They just lost access to the only person who could have led them out. Number 2, belief engine. The mindset that outpaced their tactics. To someone who survives on illusions, a person with clarity looks like a magician. To someone who thrives on shortcuts, a person with discipline looks like a cheat code. Let us get this straight from the jump. You didn't just beat them, you outlasted them. You didn't play faster, you played smarter. And the scariest part, you never flinched. No desperate moves, no impulsive swings. Just pure alignment between thought, word, and action. And that alone exposed every trick they had. While they were busy changing masks, you were upgrading your mindset. You were not reacting, you were evolving. And that kind of consistency, that kind of belief, it is terrifying to someone who depends on confusion to win. You see, chosen one, your belief was not emotional hype or spiritual fluff. It was not vibes and affirmations alone. It was architecture. Belief for you was not about hope. It was about structure. A mental OS built from pain, repetition, and ruthless self-honesty. While they were gaming people for emotional highs, you were building a system that doesn't crash under pressure. That is the belief engine. That is what turned you into something they couldn't predict, decode, or replicate, because they were all tactics. You were a strategy. Let us imagine it for a second. They walk into a casino with tricks up their sleeve, sleight of hand, misdirection, rigged games. But you You are not even gambling. You own the damn building. You know the rules, the lighting, the layout. You are not here to bet. You are here to watch them play themselves. And when their tricks start to fail, when the attention starts to shift, their panic begins. Because for the first time, their manipulation didn't work. Their bait got ignored and they realized the worst thing possible. You do not need to manipulate. You do not need to trick anyone to win. And that makes you dangerous. You didn't manifest your way to power. You disciplined your way into becoming untouchable. Your belief system told you to move forward, even when no one clapped, even when your hands were shaking, even when the world tried to label your silence as weakness. But you knew something they didn't. Emotional regulation is not numbness. It is warfare. Self-control is how legends are built. That is why your moves compounded. That is why your reputation hit harder than any performance they could stage. And that is exactly why they are choking now. Because every time you did the right thing when no one was watching, you were building an empire they thought was a bluff. You didn't move for approval. You moved from alignment. That is what kills them. That is the glitch in their matrix, because they cannot understand how someone without a mask, without a script, without an angle is still winning. They cannot compute how someone with no manipulation still has peace, how someone who didn't beg still got blessed, how someone who didn't scheme still came out 10 steps ahead. It violates everything they believe about the world. So what do? They project. They label you lucky, arrogant, or even accuse you of playing mind games. But no, chosen one, you were not gaming anybody. You were just being real. And being real around fake people feels like manipulation because they've never seen authenticity executed with that much precision. They thought you were pretending, but you were not pretending. You were operating. And here is the twisted irony. Their entire existence is built on misdirection, smoke and mirrors, carefully curated masks, lies repeated until they sound like truth. But you walk in unbothered and start doing things the honest way, and now suddenly they are glitching. Why? Because your belief system didn't just protect you, it exposed them. It proved that integrity is not just noble, it is efficient, it is powerful, it wins. Let me give you a name, Kobe Bryant. The Mamba mentality was not about talent. It was about obsession with execution. Kobe didn't just play the game. He studied it, dissected it, became it. He believed in doing it right every single time, especially when no one was watching. That belief, it outpaced talent, outpaced hype, outpaced flash. That is what you did. You became the psychological version of that. Every time you chose calm over chaos, you built leverage. Every time you let them talk while you leveled up in silence, you built equity. And now that it is paying off, they are realizing something devastating. You were never in the same league, and I know what might be crossing your mind right now. Why didn't they see my value sooner? Because people who live in illusions cannot recognize anything real. Why are they only realizing now how powerful I am? Because belief systems do not shout. They compound, they echo over time, and now that echo is loud as hell. It is shaking their delusions apart, and let me be clear. This belief engine didn't come from easy wins. It came from humiliation, from setbacks, from moments where you could have snapped but didn't. Moments where you could have turned toxic but chose discipline. That is what formed your internal code. That is what makes you deadly now. Not because you fight dirty, but because you do not need to fight at all. Your mindset is lethal because it is sustainable. It doesn't burn out. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't panic under pressure. It keeps producing results long after they've run out of fuel. Because what they built was temporary, based on lies, facades, emotional leverage. But what you built that runs on alignment, discipline, truth, that is why they cannot match you. They were not playing the long game. You were. So now they are scrambling, trying to reverse engineer your path, watching you in silence, trying to mimic the exterior without ever understanding the core. But belief systems cannot be copied. They have to be lived. And what you have built cannot be faked. That is the real flex. They can mimic your tone, your phrases, your aesthetic, but they cannot mimic your energy because energy doesn't lie, it exposes. So now what? Now they either crumble or change. But either way, you are not waiting around. You are not slowing down to explain the manual. You already handed them the truth through your actions, not your mouth. You already showed them what happens when you stop playing defense and start operating from code, from clarity, from a belief system that doesn't flinch. They are not just watching you succeed. They are watching you validate everything they denied. Every moment, they mocked your discipline. Now, it is the very thing that is feeding your glow. Every time they underestimated you, now they are choking on the proof. Every lie they told about you now shattered by your consistency. And that is the ultimate revenge. You didn't change the story. You outlived the fiction. So let them sit in their confusion. Let them spiral, trying to figure out how you outmaneuvered their games without even playing. You do not owe them a breakdown. You do not owe them clarity. You already gave it in silence, in discipline, in belief. Over time, you were never just one step ahead. You were in a completely different system. And now they know the most dangerous thing about you is not your strength. It is your mindset. Number 3, low-grade schemes versus high-calibration awareness. They didn't lose because you attacked them. They lost because you saw them coming 3 moves ago and decided not to play. They came at you with tricks that worked on everybody else, recycled, predictable, low-grade tactics they've been reusing since high school drama. Same guilt trips, same gaslighting, same crocodile tears. But this time it didn't land. Why? Because you are not everybody else. You are a chosen one operating on high calibration awareness, a level of mental precision that doesn't react. It recognizes. And once you see the game for what it is, it stops working. They expected a fight. They expected confusion. They expected you to bite the bait, chase the breadcrumbs into an emotional trap. But instead, you stood still, watched, measured. You didn't swing. You didn't plead. You diagnosed. And that right there, that is what cracked their entire operation. Because when you do not respond the way they need, their illusion collapses. Their whole identity is built on being able to control your reaction. But when you do not flinch, you starve the machine. They do not understand that high awareness is not loud. It is not emotional. It is surgical. It is knowing how to scan the energy behind the words. Not just the words themselves. It is hearing the tone shift in a compliment. It is noticing the timing of that apology. It is catching the pattern on repeat. And once you see it, it is done. The game cannot continue because you are not confused anymore. You are not questioning your reality. You are documenting theirs. They thought this was chess. They thought they could lure you into arguing, begging, explaining, but you have leveled out of all that. You do not chase clarity from confusion anymore. You let it expose itself. That is what happens when the universe hands you awareness. You stop fighting shadows and start illuminating patterns, and patterns do not lie. Let us answer the question that might be creeping in your head. Did I really do enough by just walking away? Yes. Should I have said something? No. Because silence is a statement when you have already recognized the pattern. They didn't need words. They needed your energy, and you revoked it. And when you stopped feeding the dynamic, their IQ level scams ran straight into a wall. Your standards. You didn't out-manipulate anyone. You outgrew the entire strategy. That is high calibration awareness. And it is terrifying to the enemy because you didn't fight dirty. You just fought different. You fought with nothing but inner alignment, and that is how you win without even showing up to the battlefield. The universe sees it. Stay sharp. Keep watching. Let them trip over their own patterns. You just keep walking forward. Number 4. The surrender file. Fine, you win. They were not haunted by what you did. They were haunted by what they couldn't undo. Here it is. The collapse, the Ace of Swords moment, the clean cut. Not a scream, not a scene. Just that quiet mental snap where pretending doesn't work anymore. They tried to hold the illusion together with duct tape lies, denial loops, and fake smiles. But it is unraveling now. Every night they cannot sleep. Every awkward moment of zoning out at work. Every time they hear your name and their stomach flips, that is the toll. That is the debt their games have racked up. And now the interest is psychological torment. Chosen one, you didn't make them break. Reality did. You didn't threaten them. You didn't chase them. You didn't even clap back. The truth simply matured. And truth has a funny way of aging. The longer it is denied, the louder it echoes. It builds like pressure behind the eyes. And now their own mind is turning on them. That is the moment they mutter, "Fine, you win." But do not get it twisted. That is not a surrender born from wisdom. It is a white flag soaked in regret. This is not them becoming a better person. This is them realizing the performance is over. The mask didn't work. The charm didn't hit. The manipulations fell flat. Your silence was not weakness. It was strategy. Your detachment was not cold. It was clarity, and they couldn't rewrite that. No matter how many lies they stacked. Let us dissect it even deeper. The sleepless nights. That is their mind running infinite reruns of how it all went wrong. The stalled focus. That is the weight of living two lives. The real one and the fake one they tried to push. The guilt. That is the echo of every time they painted you as the villain, while knowing damn well they were the one holding the knife. They didn't lose because you fought harder. They lost because you stood in truth, while they twisted themselves in circles, trying to escape it. That is why the playbook failed. Not because you hacked the game, but because you didn't play it. You sat down and let karma run the scoreboard. And here is what they hate the most. You didn't celebrate their surrender. You didn't even flinch. You just kept walking like it was always supposed to fall apart. And it was because anything built on manipulation, ego, and fear is already on a timer. You just showed up and hit the expire button with your absence. Here is a truth that burns them. Their emotional response is your reward. That uneasy energy they are trapped in, that is the proof you were never the issue. The real problem was their refusal to confront themselves. And now that you are no longer there for them to use as a distraction or blame target, the mirror is turned all the way up, and they cannot escape their own reflection. You might wonder, will they ever speak the truth openly? Most likely not, but they are already revealing it in the ways that matter most: their silence, their fixation, their mistakes, their constant urge to see if you are still paying attention. That is the confession. That is the surrender, not through words, but through collapse. And chosen one, the universe is smiling beside you because you trusted alignment. You allowed reality to defend your name. And now the verdict is being delivered clearly and loudly. You were the truth from the very beginning. Let them stumble. Let them whisper apologies into empty spaces. You have already walked away from the courtroom. Their inability to accept your victory is not strength. It is the result of truth finally catching up to them. Number 5. Generosity audit. When kindness reveals a scarcity mindset, they believed they were taking advantage of you. In reality, you were testing character the entire time. Every act of kindness you gave, every favor, every encouraging word, every moment you chose compassion over ego, they counted it as something they could benefit from. In their limited survival-driven mindset, your kindness looked like weakness they could exploit. But the universe has a strange way of exposing people, doesn't it? Because that same generosity became a spotlight, shining directly on their spiritual emptiness. You never gave for praise or approval. Without realizing it, you were revealing people for who they truly were. And what appeared was painful clarity. They take because they fear there will never be enough. You give because you understand there will always be more. And now they are haunted by the memory of your kindness, by the way you smiled while they were secretly plotting behind your back, the way you showed up when they disappeared, the way you helped when they mocked. They replay those moments like a glitching film reel, realizing too late that you were the rare one, the genuine article in a counterfeit world. What burns them is not your absence. It is that your authenticity was never for sale. They drained your energy thinking it was endless, not realizing that abundance only multiplies for those who respect it. And here is the thing most won't admit. Generosity is not about money or gifts. It is about frequency. You were operating at an abundant vibration: gratitude, faith, resilience. They were tuned to scarcity, manipulation, fear, greed. When those two energies collide, one feeds and one depletes. And they've just learned the hard way that you cannot siphon energy from someone aligned with the universe. Every time they took without gratitude, the flow reversed. Every time you gave without expectation, the cosmos took note. That is why your life expanded while theirs constricted. Think about it. Chosen one. What do you do when someone keeps taking? You stop giving. But the second you withdraw, they feel a drought. That drought is not your punishment. It is their karmic reflection. You were their supply of light, clarity, and emotional nourishment. They treated you like an ATM, never realizing you were a sacred power source. Now the machine says declined. And they are not mad at the machine. They are mad that their manipulative withdrawals got publicly denied. Let us zoom out. Throughout history, this pattern repeats. Nikola Tesla gave the world free ideas. Corporations stole and called him crazy. Robin Williams gave laughter until it broke him. The industry cashed in on his pain. Real givers always end up exposing the takers, because the difference between creation and consumption cannot be hidden forever. And you are cut from that same cloth. You didn't lose anything by giving. You simply proved who was running on deficit energy. You are not their villain. You are their audit. Your generosity was the mirror that showed them how spiritually poor they really are. That is why they flinch when they remember your kindness, because it reveals how transactional they've always been. You were generous with time, love, effort, and energy. They were generous with excuses, and the universe, meticulous as ever, is cashing those emotional checks. One side is seeing returns, the other's declaring bankruptcy. So, if you have ever thought, did I give too much? No, you gave exactly what was required for revelation. You didn't overgive, you overexposed. And now your silence, your detachment, your calm success, that is the invoice being paid. In full, keep walking. In your abundance, chosen one. You were never meant to live in their scarcity maze. Let them stay where taking is survival and giving is weakness. You have graduated to a higher frequency where generosity is power, not loss. The universe saw what you gave without asking. Now it is your turn to receive without needing. Number 6, declined, cutting off their ATM to your peace. They were not addicted to you. They were addicted to what you let them get away with. Now that it is gone, withdrawal symptoms hit different. There comes a moment, chosen one, where the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, except for one word that hits harder than 1,000 explanations. Declined. Not because you are bitter, not because you are trying to get revenge, but because peace is a currency, and you finally realized your energy was being looted like a 24/7 ATM by someone who never intended to deposit anything back. They were not loving you. They were using you for emotional regulation, validation, attention, control. Every time they stirred the pot, they got a reaction. Every time they withdrew your time, your empathy, your sanity, they smiled while you bled. You became their favorite transaction. And they thought the machine would never shut down. But now card declined, access revoked, and baby, they are losing it. Because it is not just the silence that stings, it is what it represents. that the door they thought they could walk through forever just slammed shut, that you finally set the boundary they never believed you had the nerve to enforce. And this time it is not a test. It is not a game. It is not a bluff. It is the final receipt printed in bold. This line is no longer in service. Watch how fast their energy shifts. The charm turns to rage. The fake apologies flip into insults. The love bombing becomes slander. Because when someone entitled to your peace gets cut off, it doesn't reveal their sadness. It reveals their intentions. They were not there for you. They were there for what you gave. And now that the giving has stopped, the tantrum begins. That is how you know it was never love. It was a service they thought they subscribed to. But the universe, oh, the universe loves this kind of discipline, because every time you say no to chaos, you say yes to alignment. You are no longer emotionally bankrupt. Your attention is no longer up for auction. You are not explaining why the vault is closed. You are just locking it and walking away. That is power. That is peace. That is chosen one frequency. Let them scream. Let them spiral. Let them call you cold because their opinion doesn't pay rent in your mind anymore. And the lesson is final. Access is not a loophole. It is a privilege. One they lost the second they mistook your kindness for weakness. You were not cruel. You were done. And now the only thing they are withdrawing is silence. Balance zero. Power restored. Number 7. 10 swords. 0 comebacks. The broadcast gets cut. They didn't expect you to walk away. They expected you to stay tuned. But you canceled the show mid-season. And now they are stuck in a rerun of their own delusions. This is the end of the episode. Not with a cliffhanger, not with a dramatic final scene, but with the screen going black, just static silence. The broadcast has been cut, and their whole identity is glitching because the one thing they built their personality around, controlling you, just flatlined. No more panic button. No more emotional hotline. No more, you see, chosen one. What they wanted was not connection. It was programming. You were cast in their show as the predictable responder, the emotional reactor, the fixer, the validator. They built entire plot lines around pushing your buttons and watching the fallout. But then you went off script. You stopped replying. You stopped defending. You stopped explaining the obvious to someone committed to misunderstanding you. And that silence, that was the final sword. No retaliation, no closure, just gone. That is psychological checkmate. Understand this. Some people aren't addicted to attention. They are addicted to control. And once they cannot hijack your nervous system anymore, they spiral. They depended on your reactivity to stay relevant. You were their co-star, their emotional GPS, their last shot at pretending they had meaning. And now their drama plays to an empty room. You are not even watching the fall anymore. You are somewhere else, evolving, unbothered, unavailable. And you might be asking yourself, should I have said more? Left things clearer, made a stronger exit. No. You leaving quietly was the loudest message of all. Because people like that do not understand logic. They understand withdrawal. They only hear the message when the supply runs dry. Your silence is the shutdown. Your absence is the error message. 10 swords. That is what it took for you to be done. Not because you are weak, but because you finally saw the pattern. Nothing changes when you keep reviving the same episode. So, you flipped the switch, turned off the channel, and threw away the remote. That is not giving up. That is called liberation. The universe applauded that move, because every chosen one has to reach that point where they realize peace doesn't beg to be understood. It simply disconnects. And when you disconnected, their whole system crashed. Let it go. That was not a relationship. That was a performance. And you just ended the show. Broadcast terminated. Drama canceled. You upgraded. Number 8. Neutral. Not nice. Strategic detachment that bites. They wanted chaos. You gave them nothing. That is not cold, that is control. Let us make one thing clear. You didn't turn cold. You turned calibrated. You are not heartless. You are strategic. And your neutrality, that is not weakness. That is warfare. Because nothing terrifies someone addicted to control more than a target that won't flinch. You stopped being nice and started being neutral. And that hit harder than any revenge plan they could have prepared for. They were expecting another round, another argument, another guilt trip. They thought they could loop you into another sob story with hooks laced in it. But instead, you gave them the cleanest move in the game. Detachment. No counterpoints. No clarifying texts. No, let me just say one last thing. Just nothing. You went protocol, and now they are starving for a reaction that will never come. Here is what they never saw coming. When you detach, you stop feeding the glitch in their identity. You stopped being their emotional generator. You were the battery pack, keeping their instability charged. Every time you engaged, you were supplying them with signal. Now they are shouting into static, talking to walls, throwing bait into an ocean that doesn't even ripple back. And you might be wondering, was I too cold? No, you were precise, because detachment is the most surgical move a chosen one can make when the enemy is messy. You are not the villain in their story, but you are also done playing the savior in a script that is rigged. Detachment is the refusal to let their chaos decide your character. Think about it like this. Surgeons do not panic. They do not scream in the operating room. They were clean, calm, calculated. That is you now. You are not avoiding emotions. You are refusing to bleed for people who cut you on purpose. That is not bitterness. That is intelligence. That is what happens when you upgrade your emotional firewall. The universe backs moves like this. Because when you stay in your lane, emotionally grounded and unbothered, you are giving the message that this energy is protected. You are no longer open for random access. You have gone from easy entry to restricted protocol. And now every manipulator that tries to tap in finds the line is disconnected. You are not angry. You are not loud. You are done. That is not cruelty. That is high-level boundary work, and it is driving them insane. You are not nice anymore. You are neutral. And that neutrality, it bites. Number 9, the new weapon. Action over echoes. They used to live off your reactions. Now they are choking on your results. You do not argue anymore. You move. No speeches, no emotional dissertations, no dramatic warnings. Just action, clean, clear, and surgical. And that shift, it hit like a blunt object to the gut. The people who once pressed your buttons like it was a game now cannot even find the panel. You changed the layout. You rewired the system. You became the firewall. This is what Chosen One evolution looks like. You stopped echoing their chaos and started responding with precision. You became decisive, efficient, deadly in your silence, terrifying in your momentum. You are not here to explain boundaries. You are here to enforce them. And when you started doing that, the whole energy field changed. Before they could bait you into debates, emotional trapdoors, circular arguments, fake apologies, followed by fresh disrespect. They were used to the version of you that gave too many chances, too much benefit of the doubt, too many maybe they'll change excuses. But that version died. What rose from the ashes is surgical calm and scorched earth follow through. And now you do not warn people. You remove them swiftly, silently, permanently. That is the bat in your hand. Not rage, not drama, decisive action. You pick your shot and you swing clean. No wasted motion, no regret, just I said what I said. Energy followed by silence. They cannot decode. They used to feel powerful because they could predict you. They knew how to trigger you, knew how to wind you up and sit back while you unraveled. But now their hands keep hitting blank space. Their words do not land. Their games do not start. You didn't just stop reacting. You outgrew the interface. They do not have access to your emotional operating system anymore. And now they are panicking because every manipulator needs a reaction to survive. But you have starved the chaos. You might be thinking, was it too much? Did I go too far? No, you didn't explode. You executed. And the universe is backing you harder than ever because your decisions are now aligned with power, not pain. This is the new era. No more warning shots, just results. You are the action now, and they are still echoing in a room you no longer stand in. Number 10. Breakthrough logistics. When alignment delivers, they kept casting spells with crossed fingers. You just updated your GPS, and the universe showed up right on time. Let us kill the suspense. Your breakthrough was not luck, was not magic, was not just your time. It was logistics. The universe doesn't bless chaos. It delivers to precision. And guess what, Chosen One? You aligned your internal address with your external actions. And boom, delivery confirmed. That is why it is all clicking for you now. Not because you begged, pleaded, or threw tantrums to be seen. You said what you were going to do, and you did it again and again, without applause, without eyes on you, without needing a motivational playlist every morning. While they were busy staging the illusion of progress, you were building the real thing brick by boring, disciplined brick. And that is what is burning them alive right now. Because they do not understand why things keep working for you. They keep asking why them, and the answer is simple. You kept showing up. You were not chasing outcomes. You were matching them. Your words, habits, mindset, energy, all lined up like a locked-in delivery route. The system recognized you because you finally stopped pretending. You became the address the blessing could reach. Meanwhile, their packages keep bouncing back. You know why? Because their mouths say one thing, but their actions scream another. They preach loyalty, but move shady. They want love, but operate on fear. They claim they are ready, but their vibration is sending out the wrong coordinates. That is not failure. That is misalignment. The universe is not denying them. It is just confused where to send the upgrade. Too many red flags on the order form. You didn't rely on tarot twists, destiny signs, or angel numbers to carry you through. You used consistency. You used discipline. You became the proof. And now the universe trusts you with the very things. Others are still manifesting on shaky foundations. You became trustworthy to the plan. You earned your tracking number. And here is the truth no one wants to admit. Breakthroughs do not chase people who aren't ready. They knock exactly where they know someone will answer. And you chosen one answered with aligned behavior, not big promises. That is what makes you unstoppable. Your abundance was not random. It was delivered right on time, right to the right one. Number 11. Peace that doesn't flinch. 2 weeks, 10 cups. They came back looking for the version of you that flinched. But all they found was a locked door and a light that is shining somewhere they cannot reach. Here is what they didn't plan for. Chosen one. That you'd find peace and know how to protect it. That you'd taste emotional fulfillment and realize you do not owe access to anyone who helped destroy your appetite. Now that you are grounded, calm, and radiant without their chaos, they are poking the perimeter like it is still 2022. But this time, there is no opening, no entry, no echo. You are not just stable, you are sealed. And your energy says it before your mouth ever has to. Exes are lurking. Co-workers are side-eyeing. Old relatives are just checking in, all testing the gate like they can still trigger you. But what they are running into now is a frequency so still, so centered, that it reflects their drama back like a mirror. No flinch, no bite, no reaction, just presence. The kind that makes manipulators squirm, because peace is loud in its own way. It hums, it glows, and it doesn't get pulled into every petty tug-of-war someone tries to initiate. That is what stuns them. They are used to the old you, the one who over-explained, over-gave, over-forgave. But now they show up fishing for softness only to realize you have evolved into structure. Not cold, not cruel, just closed. And not from fear, but from healed logic. And you might be thinking, will they ever get it? Will they ever stop trying to re-enter? Maybe. But that is not your job. Your job is to hold the line, to remember what it took to get here. This peace was not handed to you. It was earned through nights of silence, days of discipline, and a hell of a lot of self-respect. So let them talk. Let them guess. Let them whisper, "Oh, look at them from the outside." Because the lights are on, just not for them. And if they ever knew the version of you that flinched, that version's gone. The new you doesn't bend for old games. You are not petty, you are protected. And that 10-cup forecast, it is yours. Emotionally rich, unshaken, untouchable. And anyone fishing for the old, you better bring a map, because that version has been permanently moved. And no one forwarded the address. Number 12. Aftermath. Their narrative collapses. Yours compounds. They needed your chaos to keep their story alive, but you left. And now their script is blank. This is the part no one warns them about. The silence after the chosen one leaves. The story they built around your reactions dead. The narrative they spun about you being the problem evaporated, because the moment you stopped responding, the plot stopped making sense. No more debates, no more defending, no more free attention to feed their fiction. You unplugged, and without your energy to fuel it, their entire storyline collapsed like a set made of cardboard. They didn't realize they were the antagonist in their own show until the star walked off set. Now they are stuck trying to direct a film with no audience, no cast, no momentum, their smear campaign falling apart, their sob stories getting stale, the version of events they sold so confidently, exposed by time, and your complete indifference. Meanwhile, your life is growing quietly and beautifully. Your circle is smaller, your peace is stronger, your energy is cleaner. You are not showing it off. You do not need to. You are building. And that is the part that hurts them the most. You never needed revenge to succeed. You simply stopped engaging and started leveling up. See, chosen one, you didn't become stronger by battling them. You became stronger by putting your focus back on yourself. That is why everything is falling into place now. New opportunities, clearer focus, more peace within. You are becoming exactly who you were always meant to become. Not from bitterness, but from self-worth. You didn't beat them. You rose beyond them, and the enemy sees it. They feel it, but they'll never admit it. Because admitting you were never the villain would force them to face the one thing they've always avoided, the truth. And truth is the one thing their ego was never strong enough to handle. Let them fall apart. Let them keep rewriting the same story again and again. You are too far ahead to listen and too focused to care. Your life is doing the talking now. No revenge mission. No need to celebrate loudly, just growth. And that is the most powerful flex of all. And now, chosen one, the message is simple. Keep building, stay quiet, and never look back. No sympathy for chaos. No need for applause for doing what had to be done. You have outgrown their games, their guilt tactics, their emotional chains. From this moment on, let your results speak instead of noise. Protect your energy and keep your plans sacred. The universe already confirmed your power. Now, confirm your discipline. If this message hit home, drop 77 in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with another soul who's done playing small. Let us spread the light, one silent victory at a time.